January 11th, 2024. Live streaming from a distant galaxy, this is the world's most controversial podcast. The Doomsy McDoomscroller Show. A philosophical science fiction series featuring realistic futurology and refreshingly heretical commentary on the news. And if you get the video feed of Doomsy's broadcast, then you can see the main news article for this episode. Says, this is updated November. Okay, this is old, but news. Worthy of news. It's news here, news on this show, because this hasn't been covered. Of course, we can look at something hot off the press later, too. But this is from November 21st, 2023. And the headline is a question. Has America's 50-year fight to protect endangered species been successful? All right, big question, huh? Has America's 50-year fight to protect endangered species been successful? What's happening? In the nearly 50 years since the Endangered Species Act was enacted, the law has been credited with preventing hundreds of plants and animals from disappearing forever. But that doesn't mean it hasn't been controversial. The act has sparked some major legal fights and has been blamed for billions of dollars in lost economic development. Even some environmentalists believe it hasn't actually been very effective and is poorly designed to address the changing threats that are driving species toward extinction. All right. I think that's enough of that article for the moment. For the moment here. Okay, I'm on the surface of some planet. I'm not sure exactly where. It's not the Milky Way galaxy, so let me just take off here. Okay, and now Doomsy shall opine. 50-year fight. Okay, first of all, fight is not a bad characterization. Right? I'm not so much against this word. I'm actually just sick of the accuracy of this word. Got to fight for this, fight for that, fight. Constantly fighting. It's always a war on something. It's a fight for something. Fight for this, fight for that. Well, what is your culture doing? And of course, Doomsy means by your culture, civilized culture. With a capital C. Right? The 10,000-year-old culture of holy war agriculturalists. You farmers. Yeah, you're a farmer. You're an indirect farmer. That's where all your calories come from. You're certainly not a hunter-gatherer, are you? So you're farmers. No, I'm talking about your culture. Always fighting. It's always a fight for something. You gotta fight for your rights. Fight for this, fight for that. Like, holy sh... Does it ever stop? Can it ever stop? You've been at it. Your culture has been at it for about 10,000 years now. So, where is it? Where's the promise? Isn't it time to deliver? After 10,000, dozen thousand years, isn't it time? Isn't it time? It's like put up or shut up. Where is this utopia? Where is it? It's never coming. Yet you keep pushing, you keep driving forward. No, you think you're going forward, but really you're in free fall and the ground's coming up fast. Or let's say, okay, stick with the forward analogy. You're going forward, but you're going forward in a stampede. Stampede of 8 billion of you. The growing stampede, because just 47 years ago there was 4 billion, so you've doubled. 47 years before that you were 2 billion. So the trend now is doubling every 47 years. That's your culture. That's what you do with your population. So 10,000 years. You're at it now. How long ago did you split the atom? Come on, figure it out. Yeah, you aren't. You aren't going to figure it out. There's no fixing it. Okay, your culture sucks. It's the worst culture. Right here, we just read a thing. The fight. This constant fighting. Constantly. Okay, and what does this headline not say? Let me put it back up on the screen here and read it to you for those just getting the audio. Has America's 50-year fight to protect endangered species been successful? Okay, so I want to ask, protect endangered species. Okay, protect from what? From who? From you. You're fighting to protect endangered species from you. What the living fuck? Oh, man, are you kidding me? You gotta be freaking kidding me, man. That's exactly what's going on, right? You're fighting to protect species from disappearing due to your warmongering. That's some kind of insanity. And you know what? I'll tell you this. There's a revolution. It's already going on. It was going on before Doomsday left. Before Doomsday left Earth. I found out about it. Like, I wasn't one of the first. Far from it. There was already a million. Already a million. I'm telling you, so, I mean, that's why I'm still hanging out in this universe, even though I'm getting these admittedly somewhat distressing headlines, news articles. Because there's a million. Everyone's able to dish a red pill. I'm talking like real red pills. No. You guys, you aren't batteries for artificial intelligence. Look, come on. This is realistic futurology, all right? Artificial intelligence, the robot apocalypse, it's not going to happen. You simply don't have the time. You don't have the time to get there. You don't. You don't. 2, 3, 4 decades tops. Deforestation will have got you past the 50% mark. You'll be at most forests on Earth gone. Most forests on Earth gone. Doomsday's covered that article before in the most prestigious science journal there is, peer-reviewed, done by the physicists, the people who put other people on the moon before smartphones, before there were anything like smartphones, got people on the moon. And the fact that at least 2% in the USA don't believe that happened. That's just yet another indictment on civilized culture. And I'll tell you, the indictment, there's going to be a conviction. The trial has been going on for a dozen thousand years. Conviction was predetermined. Mother Nature looked at civilized culture, canceled it right from the get-go. Said, what? You think you can just multiply and rape, dominate, have dominion? Yeah, rape. Rape is a better translation for the ancient Hebrew word that was translated into subdue. Subdue is pretty much sugarcoating. And when you realize like who the original storytellers of Genesis were, and it was story told verbally for thousands of years before it was written down, it makes sense that they would use that word, rape. Raping the earth. That's your culture, civilized culture. You're fighting to protect endangered species from you. That's what you're doing. Hey, here's an idea. Why not just stop killing everything? Huh? Why not just stop trying to conquer the planet? Oh, that's right. Because then you couldn't feel like gods. And look, I know a lot of you don't feel like gods, but there's members of your species, right, that you can point to and say, look, a god. Right? You got like 1 million of them now. 1 million neo-pharaohs. And you want to argue. Y'all want to have these arguments all the time about like the best way to get neo-pharaohs in your life. The best way to support the noble and royal classes. The best way to maintain socioeconomic hierarchies. Well, if it was real communism, or if it was a real free market and capitalism, it was a real capital, then utopia, right? Well, I'm not seeing it. Where's the utopia? I mean, do y'all really believe in that? I mean, it seems to me that, at least at the box office, in cinema, dystopian movies are making more money than utopian movies. Because it's just a little bit more believable, isn't it? Isn't it? It's more believable. That's plausible sci-fi. The dystopian stuff. Fight to protect endangered species. Has it been successful? No, absolutely not. How could it be successful? How could such a thing be successful? The whole reason, I mean, what kind of efforts could you possibly make towards the protection of endangered species when that protection is needed because of your culture? And you're trying to do something within your culture to save these endangered species when your culture is the thing to blame. Yeah, you could say it's humans, the fault of humans, but no, it's not the fault of humans. Humans been around for many, 300,000 years. People have been around a couple million years. We're talking people, a couple million years of people on Earth. So if you had a time machine, go back a million years, 1,000,005 years, 2 million years. There's creatures on Earth. You would point to them as people. Those are people. That's a family. And look, there's families getting together. They would be able to see that people. But anatomically modern humans, if we just want to limit the window of history to that, 300,000 years. 300,000 years. Years of humans, of modern humans, anatomically modern human beings, Homo sapiens, on the earth, 300,000 years, and they never had to fight to protect endangered species. They just didn't. Maybe some species went extinct because they were hunted to extinction. But that's what happens anytime a new species emerges. Particularly something on the apex predator level. Right? That should just be expected. But what you're dealing with now is like a mass extinction. A mass extinction event. That's what you're in the middle of. So here's the good news. Is these species, here's what they need you to do. And by you, I guess I'm doing that second person plural. You all. 8 billion, but it's not even going to take 8 billion. It's just going to take a few million more. Then there's the snowball. You just can't stop it. But here's what the endangered species need you to do. Stop waging war versus Earth. Walk away from civilized culture. Walk away from the pyramid building. Walk away from the pharaoh fostering. What are you doing? Look, you got just pick one of the biggest pharaohs, one of the biggest neo-pharaohs. Like, okay, let's go with some low-hanging fruit, right? And Elon Musk, right? Who's that guy? Who the F is he? I mean, nobody special. I mean, he doesn't got any special smarts or anything like that. I mean, he's just a person of average Homo sapien intelligence. Often shoots his mouth off and sounds like a complete idiot. Does morally bankrupt things. Does ignorant, stupid things. Hasn't really proven himself, to be the greatest at making business decisions, it seems to me. And even if he was, and even if you want to just say, well look, he's he's got $1 trillion or whatever. It's the biggest pharaoh. So what? Doesn't mean he's smart. Doesn't mean he's got anything going for him that somebody else doesn't have. It doesn't mean that he's a leader. They're not leaders. The guy's not a leader. So the endangered species want you to stop waging war versus the earth just so you can have neo-pharaohs, because that's really all you're doing it for now. That's really the only reason. And maybe some of you, because this thing, democracy. Yeah, democracy. All democracy is, it's just a promise. It's just a promise that people might get a chance to be pharaohs themselves. That common folk. Democracy is just this falsehood, this delusion. It just encourages the delusion of grandeur. That you're like a god. You are like a god. You can become more godlike. You can accumulate more products. Raise your stature on the socioeconomic hierarchy. Accumulate products, gain some altitude, and have more security. And be like a god. Democracy. Just start building your own little pyramid. I work for myself, Jonesy. You're still building a pyramid. Still a pyramid. Still building pyramids. And to build these pyramids, you got to wage war versus Earth. So, fight to protect endangered species. See, here's the reason why you're fighting to protect from endangered species. You think that humans are the problem. And you think the solution to this problem is somehow found within your culture. You think that this problem of endangered species, this mass extinction that's happening, you think it's because that's how humans are. Scourge of the earth, right? And it's up to civilized culture to save things. You suck at doing it. Your laws. I mean, we had that on last week with the Clean Water Act. 50 years of the Clean Water Act in the USA. What do you think that huge stack of papers was all about? That's all it was. It was a stack of papers. Well, some legal action after that, right? People arguing in courtrooms. And then people paying money, giving up some products. But so it was a stack of papers. Clean Water Act. 50 years of that. And what do you got? 51% of lakes and rivers toxic. Or I think the word is impaired. Impaired. Yeah, that's what you got. So 50 years of Clean Water Act. So what, Endangered Species Act, you think that's going to fare any better? Oh, that's why you're doing it. You think the problem, you just got it, y'all got it back asswards. You think the problem is humans and that the solution is something within civilized culture. When Doomsy's telling you that there's millions of you, albeit that's still a small percentage of 8 billion, there's millions of you that know reality to be the opposite. It's the opposite. Well, entirely opposite? I'm not saying humans are the solution. What I'm saying is civilized culture is the problem. It has nothing to do with your DNA. Endangered species, it's not because of your species. It's civilized culture. Civilized with a capital C. How could you? How could you criticize civilized culture? Well, what is civilized culture? Look at what it does. What is the MO? For 10,000 years, what's been the MO, the modus operandi? Or I guess we could even use the SOP, the standard operating procedure, for the expansion of civilized culture from the Fertile Crescent, a dozen thousand years ago. How did civilized culture spread? And if you just look at the history, it's pretty plain and pretty obvious. Civilized culture, every single civilized nation, it's founded upon genocide and slavery. That's your culture. And you think that, because you have democracy now, that let's just write some laws and things will be hunky-dory? Far from it. But I'll tell you what, here's good news, or at least this is something that Doomsday, this is something that keeps Doomsday in this universe right now, at least until I get my hyperspatial quantum entanglement engine fixed. But look, I mean, if you want more backstory, just go to www.doomsdaymcdoomscroller.com. But here's news that keeps me here is that women in some countries now in civilized culture have bodily autonomy. And you know what I'm getting at? Let me just say it directly. All right? Nobody, I mean nobody, is ever a vessel. You got that? Nobody's ever a vessel. Oh, also, let me add to that. The creator, true creator, the actual creator of every human being, actual creator of every human, is a woman. Now, if that offends you, well, that's no surprise there, because you are of the culture of maximum misogyny. But I'm staying in this universe because women in some places they're getting bodily autonomy. They can decide what to do. I mean, you could say, well, things are going backwards here and there, Doomsday. Well, yeah, maybe so. But look, I'm just trying to see. Here's why that's a gauge. A gauge for Doomsday is that the subjugation of women and the subjugation of Earth are intertwined. It is those two things are the clay and the straw that make the bricks of the foundation of civilized culture. And so, you know, I can see, I was in countries, I lived in the USA, Doomsday, when I was on Earth. Doomsday was an American while I was part of civilized culture. I'm not now anymore. I had to leave the frickin' planet to get away from civilized culture. Because you just don't stop. Hit the brakes when you're in the middle of a stampede. You get trampled to death. So there's no way to just leave. No, I remember people had, it was a fight for women's rights. You shouldn't have to fight for that. You know why you're fighting for that, right? Because your culture is about the subjugation of women and the subjugation of Earth. That's the entire basis. That's the whole. That's the main tenet of your culture. That's what you're doing. So you want to help endangered species? Well, stop trying to conquer the planet. Stop raping it. You really don't have to have pharaohs. And the only reason they're there is because you think it's part of your species. You think you have to have them there. You think that's what makes you human. It's what, that's what justified genocide on North America just centuries ago. Centuries ago. We're not talking millennia. Just a handful of centuries ago, there was 12 million women and children living sustainably in North America who then were murdered by holy war agriculturalists. You know them as farmers. But look, just like nobody's ever a vessel, creator of every human being is a woman. There's no such thing as a divine message. Never will be. And so there never has been a divine messenger and never will be. For 300,000 years, you got along fine without pharaohs. And now you have them. And there's no special economic system to make it better. There's no laws that are going to help endangered species. You just got to walk away from the war. Doomsday, how could we walk away? How could we just leave civilized culture? Wouldn't we have to give up everything? We'd have to give up what? You have to give up waging war? You have to give up building pyramids? You have to give up supporting a-holes? You'll hear Doomsday say this maybe almost every episode, right? The only way that a population, the only way that a people can arrange things in their society so that they suffer under a tyrannical king, the only way that can happen, the only way they can get that situation where they're suffering under a tyrannical king, the only way that can happen is for them to first have kings. Look, if you don't have kings, you're never going to have a tyrannical king. You see the rise, authoritarianism. Well, you better understand it. You better understand it. You Dems, you libs, people on the left and the right, people on the left, you better understand authoritarianism. An authoritarian, just one particular style of pharaoh. That's all it is. And what? Civilized culture? You've been cultivating pharaohs for 12,000 years, or 10,000. It took the Holy War, agricultural lifestyle, a couple thousand years to really generate enough conquering, enough suffering, enough ownership to get a pharaoh. Off and running after that. So, protect endangered species. Protect them from you. It's ridiculous. All right. We're going to end with this, okay? Because look, this is Thursday, January 11th. I told you I'd get something hot off the press. This headline, this is from Miami Herald. Found this on Yahoo News, just like the last article. Here's the headline. Young moose gets stuck on icy river. Then couple rushes to its rescue. Videos show. Look, here's the good news. People are mostly good. Really. The vast majority of people are like good through and through. So it's, I mean, from this distance especially, it's just kind of sad how you work so hard. You really labor intensively to just constantly increase the production of food surpluses that then fuel your population growth and get you to build ever more pyramids, ever higher pyramids. Right? You get those pharaohs higher and higher, right? Look at any number of articles on population. Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, they want 1 trillion humans. They want billions of people dragging stones for them. Not good enough. They want 1 trillion. It's some kind of freaking insanity. But you know who those people are? They are people that you put there, that your culture put there. Every society and civilized culture, you systematically weed through your population to find the most greedy, the most ruthless, the most power-hungry people among you, and then you get under, you lift them, you push them up like crowd surfing at a concert, and but somehow they just keep going higher and higher. You just keep elevating the worst people, the worst people with the most greed. The most greed. You reward that because of a delusion of grandeur, because y'all think that you're planet conquerors, punish planet conquerors, that you've been instructed to conquer the planet by inept gods. That are very similar to you. It's just this crazy delusion of grandeur. And those pharaohs, they grab the headlines, don't they? But what? You got 1 million neo-pharaohs, 8 billion stone draggers, 8 billion holy war agriculturalists, about 1 million neo-pharaohs. So, like this story here, helping a moose. People are mostly good. Vast majority of people are mostly good. That's what you got going for you. Now that's some real blasphemy right there, right? I mean, that's just as heretical as anything Doomsday can say. Because what do the most popular religions of civilized culture say? Paradoxically, right? Because supposedly you're like gods. You are imaged as gods. And you have this divine task to conquer a planet. Yet, your religion's also quick to tell you that you're a piece of shit and really, you should be tortured for eternity in hellfire. But by the grace of Yahweh, of Allah, of God, or Jesus, or whatever it is, but by that grace, you can get a ticket to heaven. Spend eternity worshiping the male gods, the adult male gods. There's no real reason to continue doing that. Look at the cost. Most people are good. The vast majority, not just most, we're not talking 50 plus 1, we're not talking even 51%. The vast majority of people are good. And more of you are ready to walk away. So if anything, get with the, go with the flow. Because you got Gen X, boomers, a generation before that, they're on their way totally out. And then you got the boomers, then you got Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen Beta. So we're talking about Gen Beta's kids right now at this very moment. I'm telling you, Gen Beta's kids, Gen Beta is about to be born. And that's the next demographic. I think it's 2025. But look, Gen Beta, okay, by the time they have kids, those kids, I'm telling you, Gen Beta, they're going to be parents who are like, F this. I mean, you really want to do all the things that billions of people are doing to keep people like Putin in power? Xi, Kim Jong-un, Donald Trump. I mean, there's no reason that they're going to go away. They're going to walk away from this. And what do you have to give up? Here's what you get. Here's what you get. We'll go back here. Okay, let's go back to the original headline. Here's what you get if you abandon civilized culture. Is a headline like this? A fight to protect endangered species successful. Look, if you abandon civilized culture, you don't have to fight anymore. You don't have to fight for the protection of endangered species, because your culture will no longer exist. And the endangered species will no longer be under threat. And stop waging war. What do you got to give up? A war. That'd be kind of nice, wouldn't it? So you got this totally backwards. You think that the fault is humanity. Humanity is to blame for the endangered species, and that there's a solution somehow within civilized culture. You just get enough documents, enough laws, enough lawyers, enough fines, that somehow there's a solution within civilized culture is going to save you. No, that's wrong. I hit the buzzer. This game's got to come to a screeching halt. That's backwards. Your culture is to blame, and there is no fixing it. Nobody can save civilized culture. It's certainly not going to save itself. How could it? The only way, well, the only way, I'll say it, the only way deforestation is going to stop is for civilized culture to be abandoned. Deforestation is a defining characteristic of your culture. It literally defines what civilized people do. That's what y'all do. You can no more stop deforestation than you can stop dumping plastic into the ocean. That's what your culture does. So the good news is you don't have to fight anymore, because you don't have to wage this war. You don't. None of you do. I know there's some neo-pharaohs that really want you to keep building pyramids and reproduce as fast as you can, because that's what your culture wants you to do. You know, fruitful multiplication. You're definitely multiplying, but it's also definitely not fruitful. So, you know, the good news is the fault is civilized. It's the other way around. Civilized culture is to blame. Humans are not broken monkeys. You live sustainably in diversity. Real diversity of lifestyles all over the planet for 300,000 years. There were some common things about these diverse lifestyles, like absence of prisons, an absence of schools, an absence of old folks' homes. Old people lived with everybody else. Nobody ever feared losing a job. Humans are not broken monkeys. So you can't go back to hunting and gathering, but you can certainly give up the pyramid building. You could certainly give up the planet conquering. It's easier to produce just enough food than it is to produce surpluses, right? That's just simple logic. So what do you have to give up in abandoning civilized culture? You simply have to give up the culture of maximum violence, because that's what your culture is. The culture of maximum misogyny. Yours is the culture of maximum child abuse. Yeah. The mythology of your culture has got you thinking that civilized culture, that's the culture of electricity. You think culture is what you have, but really culture is what you do. If you want to talk about what you do, if you got questions, opinions, you can get your voice heard on the Doomsy McDoomscroller show. Just send us a voicemail. Go to our website, click the buttons, and The producers will somehow get it to me in whatever galaxy I'm in. I don't know, they'll figure it out how it gets here. Let's go to www.doomsymcdoomscroller.com. And I don't know. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow.